from the National News Studio, Sri Lanka.
A pleasant evening and a very warm welcome to the national news on Rupavahini's Channel Eye. I'm Dilanjali Ananda.
And I am Lakshita Thirisinghe. We start off by taking a quick look at the top stories for tonight.
A case filed to claim compensation over the Express Pearl incident in a Singapore court. President says no one will be allowed to disrupt the education system. No threat to Sri Lanka from the earthquake off Sumatra Islands. Tax collections rose by a record 216% in the first quarter of this year. New Year fuel quota continues. A 72-hour ceasefire declared between Sudanese army and the armed groups. Now for those and other stories in detail. Minister Rajapaksa says that the case to claim compensation over the Express Pearl ship was filed in a Singapore court today.
The minister revealed in the parliament today over an individual who had received cash in a foreign account to take necessary measures to delay the case filing. Opposition leader Sajith Premadasa said that 2 years have passed since the Express Pearl incident. He said that the authorities have failed to take necessary legal measures to claim compensation over the incident during this period. He added that only a few days are left to claim the compensation. Minister Rajapaksa said that the authorities have taken necessary steps to file a case in this regard in a Singapore court today. He said that an oversight committee was held on the 4th of April to discuss over the case filing. He added that representatives from the Attorney General's Department, Fisheries Community as well as the ship owner and the PNI Club Insurance Company were convened for this meeting. He also expressed his displeasure over an attempt taken to sabotage the process to claim compensation pertaining to the incident. He said that an individual named Chamara Gunasekara was involved in this alleged incident and $250 million had been credited to his foreign bank account. He said that this information should be further scrutinized to determine the evidence, or rather determine as evidence following a police investigation. The Human Rights Commission of Sri Lanka requested the Federation of University Teachers Association to postpone the trade union action until the paper markings of the GCE Advanced Level Examination is completed.
However, the Federation of University Teachers Association said that they have decided to halt the trade union action and engage in the paper marking activities. The Federation of University Teachers Association held a special meeting this evening. Speaking at a briefing, media spokesman of the FUTA, Charudatta Ilangasinghe, said that a decision was reached to engage in paper marking activities. He pointed out the importance of a meeting with the President to discuss their issues directly. He said that they can proceed with the paper marking process following the discussion. Accordingly, he urged the President to provide a discussion as requested. Ceylon Teacher Services Union said that even the teachers are ready to engage in the paper marking activities. Speaking to media, its secretary Joseph Starling said that sufficient teachers have yet to apply for the evaluation activities. Accordingly, he said that the Education Ministry should provide incentives to encourage teachers in this regard. He said that it is the responsibility of the minister to fulfill the demands of the teacher service while proceeding ahead with paper marking activities. He said that the delay was caused due to the failure of the government to take appropriate decision on time. President Ranil Wickremesinghe says that any attempt to disturb the education system of the country, whether directly or indirectly, will not be permitted.
The President said that steps will be taken to create an education system suitable for the 21st century and uplift Sri Lanka's image internationally. President Wickremesinghe made these remarks while participating at the Mathara Rahula College centenary celebration ceremony today. President Ranil Wickremesinghe said that in the 21st century they must provide children with an education that meets the demands of the time. He said that it is their duty to create an educational system that is well equipped to face the challenges of the future. He said that the government is working towards 2048 and beyond. He said that as part of the plan, they have committed to creating a good education system in the country by 2030. In the next 2 or 3 years, he indicated that the government will be investing in a new economic program. After that, a large part of the funds they receive will be dedicated to education modernization programs. He said that the country could replicate the human resource development similar to Singapore, Israel and Switzerland despite limited resources. He said that by 2070, a bigger change will take place in society and it would affect education. He added that the nation is only seeing part of the technology now, including artificial intelligence and new arrivals like ChatGPT. He said that he strongly believes that the school education system in the country should be revised and improved. With 13 years of education, he said that the country needs to strive towards a more successful education system where regular and advanced level exams are not held, but rather the SAT exam and school report are considered. He said that new subjects should be introduced such as climate change and history, while also emphasizing the importance of science, art, literature and geography. To achieve all these goals, he said that they are planning to create a new system with the support from institutions such as the Asian Development Bank and the World Bank. This system will enable to build a strong education system that can face the future and help the nation to become a developed country by the century of independence in 2048, he added. The President said that the government will introduce these activities through the Cabinet Committee, discuss them in Parliament and implement them further. A special commemorative stamp was also issued by the President to mark the occasion. Principal Major Sudat Samaravikrama presented a commemorative gift to the President at the event. An educational exhibition and art festival Vidyabhimani was opened at the college in line with the celebrations. A 6.7 magnitude earthquake had occurred off Indonesia's southern Sumatra Islands this morning.
The Geological Survey and Mines Bureau said that there is no threat of a tsunami in the Indian Ocean from the effects of the earthquake. The Met Department, Disaster Management Units and Geological Survey and Mines Bureau are on alert over the potential impact on Sri Lanka and the potential tremors which may occur surrounding the country following the earthquake off Sumatra Islands. Therefore, the Geological Survey and Mines Bureau has emphasized that the public should not inflict unnecessary fear over the statements shared by various entities in this regard.
The tax collections by the Inland Revenue Department have risen by a record 216% in the first quarter of this year. The department has said that the tax collections are amounting to 316,619 million rupees. The Inland Revenue Department raised around 146,565 million rupees in tax collections in the first quarter of 2022. The department has indicated that the increase of tax collections was driven by the changes in the tax policy and gradual recovery of economic activities.
Now, if you consider the inflationary trends in the past, especially towards the end of the last year and at the beginning of this year, we have experienced hyperinflation. That means an inflation rate above 20 to 25%. In fact, it has gone up to 80-90%, and extremely high inflation, and people had to face enormous difficulties because of the high inflation that we experienced. Of course, at present, this has come down to a reasonable level, for example, 50 to 55%, especially the food inflation. And this has resulted mainly due to the kind of policies the government and the central bank pursued. For example, contractionary monetary policy and also the contractionary fiscal policy, and that has reduced the money circulation in the economy. For that reason, there has been a certain control of the inflation. Above all, another major reason that has resulted in declining inflation has been the exchange rate. And now, of course, because of the improvement in the exchange rate, now of course it has declined to some degree, and also the drop in prices in the world market, especially the oil price some time back it declined. So these resulted in somewhat drop in the price level in the local economy. The policymakers will have to ensure that right policies are in place to not to allow the inflation to rise up again.
Meanwhile, the Department of Census and Statistics has pointed out that the National Consumer Price Index eased to 49.2% in March from 53.6% recorded in February. The year-on-year inflation of the food group declined to 42.3% in March from 49% in February.
Now, a decision has been reached to continue with the increased national fuel pass quota, which was extended for the new year season. Minister Kanchana Wijesekara in a tweet said that the relevant decision was reached during the progress review meeting of Ceylon Petroleum Corporation held yesterday. The decision was reached to continue with the increased weekly fuel quotas after analyzing the fuel import, management, distribution and sales data. Accordingly, the quota for special three-wheelers will be 15 litres and the quota for general three-wheelers is 8 litres. Steps were taken to increase the quota for motorcycles to 7 litres and cars to 30 litres. In the meantime, the quota for buses is at 60 litres, land vehicles increased to 25 litres and lorries to 75 litres. Furthermore, the quota for special purpose vehicles is at 30 litres and vans at 30 litres.
Cabinet of Ministers granted approval to present the new National Educational Policy Framework and the relevant reforms to the Parliament and provide necessary instructions and guidance for the implementation process based on priorities. The approval was also granted for the resolution to appoint a Cabinet subcommittee comprised of 10 members. President Ranil Wickremesinghe presented the relevant resolution to the Cabinet of Ministers yesterday. The government has identified the education sector as one of the key components which should be introduced with prompt reforms during the process to achieve economic stability in the country. Accordingly, the resolution has proposed to formulate and implement a new education policy framework. The World Bank has agreed to extend support under their Development Policy Financing Program for the Economic Stabilization and Recovery Program of the country. Cabinet of Ministers granted approval to the resolution tabled by the President to carry out the overall coordination process of the proposed program through the Presidential Secretariat and to empower the Foreign Resources Department to conduct negotiations with the World Bank to facilitate the necessary funds. Minister Bandula Gunawardena said that the Sri Lanka's banking sector was in the verge of collapse. However, he said that the World Bank is extending financial assistance worth $150 million to revive and strengthen the overall banking system and to restore the credibility of the country's banking system. He emphasized that this resolution is critical in establishing a strong financial system to engage in transactions without any doubt or fear. The need to prepare a substantial tourism development plan to create an environment required to improve the tourism industry in Nuwara area has been identified. The Nuwara Tourism Development Main Plan will be formulated under the coordination of the Presidential Secretariat together with the relevant stakeholders. The Cabinet of Ministers granted approval to appoint a task force under the chairmanship of the Governor to regulate the construction of new buildings and to impose regulations under the Urban Development Authority Act, limiting the construction of new 4-storied buildings in Nuwara district effective from the 1st of May. The relevant resolution was tabled by the President.
Now, a recent rapid heating of the world's ocean has alarmed scientists concerned that it will add to global warming this month. The global sea surface hit a new record high temperature. Scientists have said that combined with other weather events, the world's temperature could reach a concerning new level by the end of next year. Experts believe that a strong El Niño weather event, a weather system that heats the ocean, will also set in over the next months. Warmer oceans can kill off marine life, lead to more extreme weather and raise sea levels. They are also less efficient at absorbing planet warming greenhouse gases. An important new study published last week with little fanfare highlights a worrying development. Over the past 15 years, the Earth's accumulated heat has increased by 50%, with most of the extra going into the oceans. In March, sea surface temperatures off the east coast of North America were as much as 13.8 degrees Celsius higher than the 1981 to 2011 average. One factor that could be influencing the level of heat going into the ocean is, interestingly, a reduction in pollution from shipping. In 2020, the International Maritime Organization put in place a regulation to reduce the sulfur content of fuel burnt by ships. This has had a rapid impact, reducing the amount of aerosol particles released into the atmosphere. The average surface temperature of the world's seas has increased by around 0.9 Celsius compared to pre-industrial levels, with 0.6 Celsius coming in the last 40 years alone. We'll be back with more news from home after this break.
Katami, Fantamai.
Etera sita dakinnai, aadaraya danennai, sanakinma evannai, vikasinma labennai. Sansidennai, idiriyata ini magai, obat godanagennai, hetak godanagannai. අවශ්‍යම මොහොතක ලැබෙන මුදල් ළඟ ආදරයක් තියෙනවා. මෙතර ආදරණීයන්ට එතර සිට මුදල් ලැබෙන පහසුම හරිම විදිය සම්පත් e-remittance.
A group of parliamentarians of the ruling party says that for the first time in history, an opportunity has been given to debate over the IMF proposals in the parliament.
They said that many present issues, including the IMF proposals, were discussed during the ruling party members' meeting held with the President yesterday. State Minister Ranjit Singh Balapitiya said that obtaining an IMF financial assistance is a massive achievement. However, he said that none of the governments in the past has given an opportunity to debate over the IMF proposals in Parliament. He said that this is an achievement in parliamentary democracy, as the parliamentarians have been given the opportunity to pass the IMF proposals with a majority.
In the meantime, Minister Ali Sabri says that Sri Lanka is actively working on the safe evacuation of its citizens from Sudan. In a tweet, the minister has indicated that the minister has been closely following the situation of Sri Lankan citizens in Sudan. He said that the authorities are actively working on the safe evacuation of the Sri Lankan nationals in the country. He added that they are confident that they can proceed with the evacuation process within the next few days. Minister Sabri also extended his gratitude to India for its offer of support in this regard. Several countries have already evacuated their citizens and diplomats, while support has also been provided for the safe evacuation of stranded citizens of other nations.
The President Ranil Wickremesinghe emphasized that the government is obliged to safeguard Buddhism and that the government is aiming to strengthen all sects led by the Bhikkhu community. President Wickremesinghe made these remarks while addressing a discussion on the preparations for the 73rd Upasampada Vinaya Karma Festival of the Sri Lanka Ramanya Mahanikaya at the Presidential Secretariat yesterday.
The Upasampada Vinaya Karma Festival will be fully sponsored by the state. This Upasampada Vinaya Karma Festival, which is held every 2 years, will be held from the 21st to the 27th of July at the Suduganga Udakukkepa Seema Malakaya, connected to the Mahaveli River and centered around the Purijjala Sri Sangabodhi Pirivena in Matale. The Ramanya Mahanikaya began on the 13th of June 1863 with the Upasampada Vinaya Karma Festival held at the Gaul River Udakukkepa Seema Malakaya. The first chairman of the Sri Lanka Ramanya Mahanikaya Nikaya Rakshasa Sabha was the late Mahamanya D.S. Senanayaka. 200 novice monks will receive high ordination during the festival on the 21st of July. The next discussion regarding the organizing of this year's Upasampada Vinaya Karma Festival will be held on the 18th of May at the Matale District Secretariat. Mahasangha, led by the Chief Prelate of Sri Lanka Ramanya Mahanikaya, Most Venerable Makulave Sri Vimalathera, ministers, state ministers, heads of security forces and state officials were present at the occasion.
The Prime Minister Dinesh Gunawardena held a discussion with Italian Ambassador Rita Giuliana Manella about the expansion of trade and investment relations between the two countries. The meeting was held at the Temple Trees yesterday. European Union Ambassador Denis Trebi was also present at the occasion. The Prime Minister urged to explore the possibility of investments in new areas during the discussion. The Prime Minister requested Italy to assist to set up Italian language departments in Sri Lankan universities. Ambassador Manella said the embassy is already in contact with Sri Javardhanapuri University regarding setting up an Italian language centre. Italy is also interested in setting up skills development centre to train youths for employment in the hospitality industry. The Italian ambassador said there is a demand for trained staff in hotels in Italy.
US Ambassador in Sri Lanka Julie Shang visited the Jayashree Ma Bodhi sacred site in Anuradhapura yesterday. She called on Atamasthana Adhipati Venerable Pallegama Hemaratana Thera during the visit and engaged in a discussion with the Nayaka Thera. Following the meeting, the US Ambassador engaged in religious observances at the Sri Jayashree Ma Bodhi sacred site. Subsequently, she paid homage to the Ruwanveli Mahasaya. During the visit, she called on the chief incumbent of the Ruwanveli Mahasaya, Venerable Ithala Vatunavave Jnanatilaka Thera, and received blessings. She engaged in a lengthy discussion with the Nayaka Thera over the economic situation of the country. The Nayaka Thera had requested the ambassador that the country is expecting the assistance of the United States government to rebuild the country in this crisis.
Now, Ambassador Dr. Palitha Kahuna declared open a centre to promote cooperation between Chinese and Sri Lankan traditional medicine in Wudangshan. Wudangshan is a key centre of the Taoist traditions of China, and many asserts that the Tao philosophy is a central influence in China's traditional medicine system. Many of the traditional medicine practitioners participating in the traditional Chinese medicine conference in Wudangshan were dietists. The ambassador elaborated on Sri Lanka's traditional medicine while addressing the traditional Chinese medicine conference. He said that this tradition has a history of more than 3,000 years. Dr. Kohuna hoped that more and more practitioners of Chinese traditional medicine would be part of the cooperation between traditional medicine of China and Sri Lanka. He added that this cooperation would provide a wider range of healthcare benefits to both Sri Lankans and Chinese to bring new opportunities in healthcare tourism in the two countries.
A news was reported from the Dimbulagala area where another wild elephant was rescued with the kind efforts of the villagers and the commitment of the wildlife officials. Villagers were alerted over a wild elephant which had collapsed in the middle of a paddy field in 216 Allaboda Gram Niladari Division in Dimbulagala Divisional Secretariat Division. They took immediate measures to inform the Piburattava wildlife officials regarding the ailing wild elephant. In the meantime, villagers in Maguldamana area together with the officers attached to the Giritale veterinary unit took much efforts to treat the ailing giant for 7 to 8 days. The villagers also fed the elephant during this period. Today, the wild elephant which was rescued from the muddy field has fully recovered and roaming around the area. Stay tuned with us. News from overseas coming your way after this short break.
This is the great Rex Joseph Kadipali's story brought to you. of the silver screen. 29th April, Saturday at 7:45 p.m. on ChannelEye. Welcome back. On foreign news, a ceasefire in Sudan appears to be holding after taking effect at midnight yesterday.
It is the fourth attempt to stop the fighting, which began on the 15th of April, with previous truces not observed. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken said that 72-hour truce had been agreed between the Army and the Parliamentary Rapid Support Forces after 48 hours of negotiations. Some gunfire was reported in the capital Khartoum today. There have also been reports of warplanes flying overhead, but civilians are back on the streets of the capital. Both sides in the conflict, which has left more than 400 people dead, independently announced their involvement in the ceasefire. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres has warned the violence in Sudan risks causing a catastrophic conflagration that could engulf the whole region and beyond.
On sports news, Ireland managed to secure their highest test innings score in history. They scored 492 runs in their first innings during the second test match against Sri Lanka.
The second test match between Sri Lanka and Ireland is currently underway at the Galle International Cricket Stadium. At start of play on the second day, Ireland was 319 runs for the loss of 4 wickets. Paul Stirling scored his first test century with 103 runs. Curtis Camphor also scored his maiden test century with 111 runs. Accordingly, Ireland managed to put up a total of 492 runs for their first innings. This is the first time Ireland passed the 400 mark in test history. Prabhat Jayasuriya for Sri Lanka picked up 5 wickets. Subsequently, Nishan Madhushka and Dimut Karunaratne started Sri Lanka's first innings. At close of play for the day, Nishan Madhushka was not out on 41 runs, while Dimut Karunaratne was not out on 39 runs, with a score at 81 runs.
The Delhi Capitals secured a win in an Indian Premier League match against Sunrisers Hyderabad yesterday. The match was played in Hyderabad.
Batting first, Delhi Capitals scored 144 runs for the loss of 9 wickets in their 20 overs. Manish Pandey and Aksar Patel scored 34 each. Washington Sundar picked up 3 wickets for Hyderabad. Hyderabad, while chasing 145 runs for victory, only managed to gather 137 runs in their 20 overs for the loss of 6 wickets. Mayank Agarwal scored 49. Delhi Capitals won the match by 7 runs.
That's all the news we have for tonight. Join us tomorrow at the same time for the very latest on ChannelEye. I'm Delanjali, together with Lakshita, signing off. Good night.
Good night.
This is the great Rex Joseph Kadipalli story brought to you. King of the Silver Screen. 29th April, Saturday at 7:45 p.m. on Channel I.